I've had my eye on Absolum? Absolum. Ever since I saw the gameplay trailer 6 months ago. If I'm a sucker for anything, it's games with salient 2D art design that also scratch that arcadey itch, with refined gameplay that is fast and precise, and a layer of depth that allows experimentation. It makes perfect sense that Absolum piqued my interest because it's made by the same people behind Streets of Rage 4, Guard Crush Games. I really appreciate them teaming up with competent artists like Lizard Cube and now Supermonks to give their games that visual edge needed to stand out in today's market, especially since side-scrolling beat-em-ups are a format that's dwindling in popularity these days. Appealing artwork aside, the gameplay edge this time around is Absolum's inclusion of roguelike mechanics in the same vein as well-known titles like Dead Cells and Hades, and Lord knows those games are fucking addicting. I remember way back in 2017 when Dead Cells was in early access. I was a rosy-cheeked university student then, and a friend and I would spend hours taking turns trying to complete a run. The mix of snappy, elegant mechanical feel along with the randomness of buffs is such an intoxicating combination that it's no surprise roguelikes have had a boom since the 2010s. With that being said, does Absolum mix roguelike elements into the beat-em-up genre successfully? Yes, but also no. The game has a great baseline responsiveness and solid combo potential with normal attacks and launchers. It even has a dash that doubles as a parry. Sorry, I'm just getting kind of sick of seemingly every game relying on parries these days. Once you see Leon Kennedy parrying a fucking chainsaw with a knife, I think it's time to phone this one in. You can also use the dash as a lateral dodge that has an attack follow-up, which is a great addition to keep the flow going. Admittedly, I'm not the biggest consumer of beat-em-ups in the world. I mostly still play classics like TMNT Turtles in Time, or a personal nostalgic pick like Super Double Dragon. But one issue I remember cropping up when playing newer beat-em-ups in passing is that there usually isn't a reliable way to avoid getting hit that doesn't feel positively sluggish and ungraceful. Slowly marching up and down the 2D plane to avoid damage in a modern context feels less like intentional design and more like a reluctant solution to a begrudgingly limited moveset. But I digress. The base mechanics and movement in Absolum are good, and that is without question. There are other elements I also appreciate: branching paths with distinct enemy types, locales, and bosses that add meaningful variance to each run. I often alternated routes just to keep things fresh. The small secrets tucked along the way, the unexpected events, and newly unlocked areas give the experience a welcome sense of discovery and progression. The gradual sense of growth and mastery by increasing your base stats while refining your playstyle and strategies is satisfying in the way good roguelikes tend to be. There are also some genuinely great moments, like stumbling into a boss fight and suddenly playing out of your mind because you really don't want to lose that shiny new move you just picked up. My main problem is that the roguelike elements interfere with the beat-em-up mechanics a bit too much. Yes, it's expected in a roguelike for abilities to be set for that particular run. You die, you lose most upgrades, but keep certain ones like base stat increases. That's fine, but that really works well in a context where the core gameplay is relatively simple. In Absolum, you have dash cancels, dash attack cancels, dodges, dodge attacks, parries, clashes, combos, grabs, techs, special moves that use MP, a unique state called overpressure, still moves, and more, which is a context that is inherently more complex than the roguelikes I've mentioned, but is also one that doesn't offer quite enough to feel like you're given a fully fleshed out kit, which on paper makes sense for the premise. But when I spend my hard-earned currency on an upgrade that gives me a follow-up to my dash attack and I can't fucking use it unless the RNG gods feel like blessing me that run, it doesn't feel good at all. There's just something about the premise of having your move list expand only for it to be taken away from you frequently by design that doesn't sit well with me. After all, beat 'em ups are fighting game adjacent, and both genres are built on mechanical familiarity and muscle memory. Constantly getting your move list taken away from you feels like getting teased by your older brother, dangling your own toys in your face and yanking them away the second you reach for them. Here's an example of what I mean. The game gave me a dive kick, a really fun tool to use, exactly once, in one run over nearly 8 hours of playtime. I feel like that should speak for itself. It's bad enough that other moves that feel like they should be permanent expansions are bequeathed upon you by RNGs for just one run, but most of the regular boons don't even feel like they make much of a difference either. I would have much preferred the expanded move list to be permanent and meter dependent, while the standard boons were more powerful or transformative, because as it stands, special moves exist in a binary space where it costs one full bar of meter to use one. Game changing and life saving, yes, but also a very shallow way to implement meter in my opinion. Permanent skill upgrades that force you to choose between frequent skill use or saving up meter for a big AoE attack would be a much more interesting premise if you ask me. There are also ultimate attacks, and you basically get one per run. You may luck out and get a bonus one here and there, but it's rare, and also a bit underwhelming when you consider that ultimates literally only exist to be saved as the clear final resort when a run is practically lost, squeezing the tiniest bit of wiggle room before your likely death anyway. Again, yes, I understand how roguelikes work, but Absolum dips a bit too far to the RNG for my liking. Over time, the base kit started to feel stale, and that was only after about 3 or 4 hours of gameplay. Everything feels supplementary to cashing out on a really lucky run. It also doesn't help that the story never quite grabbed me. There's a clear effort put in the dialogue and presentation, but it often leans on familiar cliches and well-worn proverbs delivered without much irony or subversion.
Aim for the stars. If you miss, at least you'll land on a moon.
Instead of adding weight to the experience, it ends up feeling ornamental. I want Absolum to click. I wanted that itch to go again. But after 8 hours and multiple characters, I find myself more tempted to turn it off than queue up for another run. And for a roguelike, that is the quietest but clearest sign that something isn't quite landing for me. With that said, I can appreciate what Guard Crush is going for here, but Absolum lands in the disappointment bucket. It feels more like a misguided attempt to capitalize on a popular format than a genuine effort to push the beat 'em up genre forward.